Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing Thai education policy. I thought of making this video after reading a recent article from the Thai Examiner. It's thaiexaminer.com. Article is titled Boomjai Thai and Anutin Plan Thailand's Education Agenda with an Emphasis on National Pride and Ethical Civic Virtues. All good things, by the way. I like that idea. In any event, quoting further, in a bold move, Thailand's Boomjai Thai party shifts focus to national pride in education. However, with dismal PISA scores and debates on conservatism versus progress, the nation stands at a critical point. Experts emphasize urgent reforms for global competitiveness. Well, first of all, let's talk about global competitiveness. I think it's pretty safe to say right now, whatever you want to talk about in terms of geopolitics, globalism, or maybe I should say globalism 1.0, I think that's behind us now. You know, and this sort of era of needing to always be kind of worried what other countries were doing vis-a-vis what you're doing in your country. I think we can step back from that a little bit, especially here in Thailand, and maybe just say to ourselves, you know, we're Thai, we know how to do things, and that's okay. We may not be globally competitive. Well, all that really means is what someone else is calling us, whether or not they believe we're competitive. Well, we may be running our own race, to use a sort of a similar terminology. That said, quoting further, Thailand's economy, which is the second biggest in Southeast Asia, has for the last few decades been seen as a laggard with low growth and falling levels of inward investment. Okay, falling levels of inward investment, it might be because the market is saturated. You know, we're sophisticated enough that sort of the low-hanging fruit in terms of international capital looking to come in here, and I'm not going to say make the easy money, but sort of the low-hanging fruit, you know, the money that, you know, helping to build a highway or something like this that is fairly straightforward, or a factory, you know, to make things like textiles or something like this. You know, all of this is already set up in Thailand. We already have a sophisticated economy. So it might be running laggard a little bit, if you will, because it's already reached a certain point of sophistication. That would be my only point. Quoting further, unquestionably, one of the key reasons for this is a poor and underperforming education system. Now, I hear this all the time. And again, I won't say that the criticism is entirely unwarranted. However, one thing I think is worth noting, yeah, Thais are kind of weak in terms of English language proficiency when you compare them to other jurisdictions around the region. That said, this place was not colonized, and therefore, you know, Thai is the language of Thailand. So if you're looking through the prism, when it comes to education policy, if you're looking through the prism of English language proficiency, that may not be the way to look at things and get a perfectly clear view of how things are working. I'll give one example. You know, a far wiser man, a true mentor to me, wiser man than myself, once said, when talking about, you know, having lawyers in a law firm, you know, Thai lawyers specifically, he said, you know, a lot of people run out there when they're hiring, you know, if they're hiring a Thai lawyer, bringing a Thai lawyer into a law firm, they run out there and really look hard at English proficiency. But that isn't what they should be looking at. They should be looking at, are they proficient at what they do, which is Thai law. You know, if you're in Thailand, you know, you would want a competent Thai lawyer. Whether or not they can speak English is kind of a little bit irrelevant. It's only relevant to the foreigner, if anything, not to the, you know, not to the task at hand, if you look at it that way. So again, while I think that there are some criticisms that can be leveled against the education system here in Thailand, I think it's also worth stepping back and looking at things and saying, hey, if we're only going to look at this through the lens of English language proficiency, we might not be getting a fully clear picture of how things actually work as a practical matter here in the kingdom on a day-to-day basis. Quoting further, that was confirmed in November by disastrous findings from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. Well, first of all, OECD, I believe, is the brilliant group that came up with the harmonization of global taxation and all these other great ideas. So let's maybe take what they're saying with a grain of salt, or at least consider the source. Quoting further, worldwide survey where Thailand pulled 101 out of 113 countries surveyed. Again, love to know how they surveyed, and I'd love to know in what language. I would love to know that. Quoting further, in response, a new Bumjai Thai Party human resources policy was launched by Deputy Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul and Minister of Education Police General Promporn Chitchob on November 17th. The initiative prioritizes the cultivation of traditional values and pride in the nation over all other considerations. Now, quoting further, in the competitive world of global education, as, quote, as, I shouldn't say quote, I quoted this in the title, this is a point I wanted to make, as international investment funds seek the brightest talent, the recent revelations from International Assessment of Thailand are not good. Again, if you look at it purely from a foreigner's perspective, that may be true, or purely through the prism possibly of English language proficiency. I would argue these so-called international investment funds, by the way, is that a euphemism for the banking sector, or the sort of the international multi-jurisdictional corporate, crew, and there's nothing wrong with those folks. I'm asking the question, who are we talking about here? But again, those folks may be looking at Thailand differently, and they may be looking at Thailand, in my opinion, without fully seeing how things really work here, especially if you're looking through the prism of some foreign language. So again, I'm not going to go out here and say that Thailand's education could always improve. It's always a good idea to get people more educated. There's no doubt about that. But that said, it's one of these, this seems to be one of these instances of foreigners looking at Thailand and constantly criticizing and failing, first of all, to look at the nuanced aspects of the issue, and also not really looking at the situation for what it is, because look, what may work for Thailand's education policy may not be, quote unquote, globally competitive.